Day 690, Wednesday, July 2nd. Ezra 5:3 through Ezra 6:13. Ezra 5:3 to 6:13. NKJV. At the same time Tattenai, the governor of the region beyond the river, and Shethar-boznai, and their companions came to them and spoke thus to them, Who has commanded you to build this temple and finish this wall? Then accordingly, we told them the names of the men who were constructing this building. But the eye of their God was upon the elders of the Jews, so that they could not make them cease till a report could go to Darius. Then a written answer was returned concerning this matter. This is a copy of the letter that Tattenai sent, the governor of the region beyond the river, and Shethar-boznai, and his companions, the Persians who were in the region beyond the river, to Darius the king. They sent a letter to him, in which was written thus, To Darius the king, all peace. Let it be known to the king that we went into the province of Judea, to the temple of the great God, which is being built with heavy stones, and timber is being laid in the walls, and this work goes on diligently, and prospers in their hands. Then we asked those elders, and spoke thus to them, Who commanded you to build this temple and to finish these walls? We also asked them their names to inform you, that we might write the names of the men who were chief among them. And thus they returned us an answer, saying, We are the servants of the God of heaven and earth, and we are rebuilding the temple that was built many years ago, which a great king of Israel built and completed. But because our fathers provoked the God of heaven to wrath, he gave them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon the Chaldean, who destroyed this temple and carried the people away to Babylon. However, in the first year of Cyrus king of Babylon, King Cyrus issued a decree to build this house of God. Also, the gold and silver articles of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple that was in Jerusalem, and carried into the temple of Babylon, those King Cyrus took from the temple of Babylon. And they were given to one named Sheshbazzar, whom he had made governor. And he said to him, Take these articles, go, carry them to the temple site that is in Jerusalem, and let the house of God be rebuilt on its former site. Then the same Sheshbazzar came and laid the foundation of the house of God which is in Jerusalem. But from that time even until now it has been under construction, and it is not finished. Now therefore, if it seems good to the king, let a search be made in the king's treasure house, which is there in Babylon, whether it is so, that a decree was issued by King Cyrus to build this house of God at Jerusalem, and let the king send us his pleasure concerning this matter. Then King Darius issued a decree, and a search was made in the archives, where the treasures were stored in Babylon. And at Achmetha, in the palace that is in the province of Media, a scroll was found, and in it a record was written thus, In the first year of King Cyrus issued a decree concerning the house of God at Jerusalem. Let the house be rebuilt, the place where they offered sacrifices, and let the foundations of it be firmly laid. Its height 60 cubits and its width 60 cubits, with 3 rows of heavy stones and 1 row of new timber. Let the expenses be paid from the king's treasury. Also let the gold and silver articles of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar took from the temple which is in Jerusalem and brought to Babylon, be restored and taken back to the temple which is in Jerusalem, each to its place, and deposit them in the house of God. Now therefore, Tattenai, governor of the region beyond the river, and Shethar-boznai, and your companions the Persians who are beyond the river, keep yourselves far from there. Let the work of this house of God alone. Let the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house of God on its site. Moreover, I issue a decree as to what you shall do for the elders of these Jews, for the building of this house of God. Let the cost be paid at the king's expense from taxes on the region beyond the river. This is to be given immediately to these men, so that they are not hindered. And whatever they need, young bulls, rams, and lambs for the burnt offerings of the God of heaven, wheat, salt, wine, and oil, according to the request of the priests who are in Jerusalem, let it be given them day by day without fail, that they may offer sacrifices of sweet aroma to the God of heaven, and pray for the life of the king and his sons. Also I issue a decree that whoever alters this edict, let a timber be pulled from his house and erected, and let him be hanged on it, and let his house be made a refuse heap because of this. And may the God who causes his name to dwell there destroy any king or people who put their hand to alter it, or to destroy this house of God which is in Jerusalem. I, Darius, issue a decree, let it be done diligently. Then Tattenai, governor of the region beyond the river, Shethar-boznai, and their companions diligently did according to what King Darius had sent. Daily Deep Dive. The UCG reading plan states, The Jewish rebuilding project elicits an inquiry by Persian officials. The account here is not precisely dated. The phrase "at the same time Ezra 5:3" tells us that it was close to the commencement of the project in the second year of Darius 424-5-2, that is 520 to 519 BC. The foundation was newly laid in December of 520 BC, as we saw in Haggai 2:18, and the visit of the Persian officials had to come after that because of the report of timber now being laid in the walls, Ezra 5:8. Zechariah's night visions, the subject of our previous reading Zechariah 1:8-6:15, came in February of 519 BC, 2 months after the new foundation was completed, c. 1:8. The Persian visit might have come shortly before Zechariah's visions, but it seems more likely to have come after them. Either way, the time required for the matter to reach the emperor, be researched and then responded to would place the conclusion of the matter several months later, definitely beyond Zechariah's night of visions, thus explaining the placement of our current reading. The two leading figures in the official visit are Tatnai, the governor of the region beyond the river, and Shether-Boznai, Ezra 1:3. The italicized words here, the region, have actually been added to the text. The designation beyond the river, Hebrew Abar Nahar, equivalent to Aramaic Eber Nari, was actually the proper name of the Persian province containing Syria and Judea. The name denoted the region west of the Euphrates from a Mesopotamian and Persian perspective. Confirming the accuracy of the biblical record, archaeologists have found a document that can be dated to 5 June 502 BC, which cites Tatani as the Pahat governor, who was subordinate to the satrap over Ebir Nari, beyond the river. Shether-Boznai may have functioned as a Persian official known as the Patifrasa, inquisitor, or Frasika, investigator, Expositor's Bible commentary. Note on verses 3-5. Just what brought the Persian sub-governor and his retinue is not stated. He may have simply been conducting a general inspection of his territory. However, it seems likely that the Persians had informants all over the place, and that the activities in Judea would have caused regional authorities some concern. Moreover, given that there was a history of Samaritan antagonism and reporting to the imperial authorities, this may well have been another instance of it. The Persian inquiry was conducted among the Jewish elders, probably a governing council, verse 9. It perhaps seems odd that Zerubbabel does not appear more prominently here. He is mentioned in the official Jewish response, evidently being referred to as Sheshbazzar, verses 14-16, which was probably his Persian name. See the Beyond Today Bible commentary on Ezra 1. And Darius specifically refers to him, though not by name, 6:6. Why then does it appear in the passage that the Persian governor did not deal directly or particularly with him? And why did not Zerubbabel himself, rather than the Jewish elders, give the official response to Tatnai recorded in the letter to Darius? It is conceivable that the Jewish elders purposely downplayed the role of Zerubbabel. As explained in the Beyond Today Bible commentary on Zechariah 4, Darius had recently put down a number of rebellions instigated by claimants to the royal thrones in various areas of the empire. As Zerubbabel was of the line of David, grandson of a former Jewish king, this may have been recognized as a potential Persian concern. In fact, as pointed out in the same comments, some of Haggai and Zechariah's prophecies might well have sparked rumors that Zerubbabel was the promised Messiah, further fueling the Persians' concerns if they learned of this. It would not be out of character for the Samaritans to have made an issue of this. Given the circumstances, perhaps Zerubbabel himself and the other Jewish leaders decided to downplay his role as a precaution. Whatever the reason, there is no hint that the position of Zerubbabel was even an issue at this time as far as Tatnai was concerned. Verse 5 says that the Persian entourage could not make the Jews cease till a report could go to Darius. Perhaps Tatnai's initial response called for a temporary halt to construction, but the Jewish elders, now emboldened by the national spiritual renewal, did not just throw up their hands and comply. It is likely that they pressed the legality of their actions based on Cyrus's decree. We know this information came out at some point, as it appears in Tatnai's letter to Darius, and Tatnai may have been satisfied with that until word came back from the emperor. The decree of Cyrus would have been an enormously powerful factor in support of the Jewish rebuilding because of the Medo-Persian precedent of unchangeable law. See Daniel 6:8-12-15. Historian Werner Keller writes, "The official exchange of letters with the Persian court on this matter can be found in the book of Ezra 5:6-12. Many experts are convinced of the historicity of these documents, although others are doubtful. If they are not genuine, however, they are very clever imitations both as to form and content. The Bible here even uses the Aramaic of the empire, the commercial language of the Achaemenid Empire, that is, the Persian Empire, ruled by the Achaemenid dynasty. The Bible is History, 1981, pp. 303-304. The reference to finding a copy of Cyrus' decree in Akhmetha, the capital of Media more commonly referred to today as Ecbatana, is rather interesting. French archaeologist Roland Devaux says, "Now we know that it was the custom of the Persian sovereigns to winter in Babylon and depart in the summer to Susa, or Ecbatana. And we also know that Cyrus left Babylon in the spring of 538 billion c. A forger operating in Palestine without the information which we possess could hardly have been so accurate." The decrees of Cyrus and Darius on the rebuilding of the temple, the Bible and the Ancient Near East, 1971 p. 89, quoted by expositors, note on Ezra 6:2. As verses 3-11 show, Darius endorses Cyrus' decree and even adds to it in his new decree, ordering that the Jews be left alone in their work, that the project be funded out of the taxes on the beyond the river province, that the Persian state provide a steady stream of animals and other products necessary to the continued offerings of the Jewish national worship in Jerusalem, and that violation was punishable by death. The word hanged in verse 11 does not mean hanged by the neck from a rope. It refers to impaling the dead body of the condemned on a pole as a public display, and a grim warning to others. Nelson's Study Bible note on verses 11-12. Werner Keller states, numerous other contemporary texts confirm the extent to which Darius fostered the indigenous religions of the peoples incorporated in his empire, not only in Palestine but also in Asia Minor and Egypt. For example, the inscription of Usahor, an Egyptian doctor, runs as follows: King Darius, may he live forever, commanded me to go to Egypt and make up once more the number of the holy scribes of the temple, and bring new life into what had fallen into decay. p. 304. This happened about the same time as Darius's decree regarding Jerusalem, around 519 BC. See Expositor's note on 612. Illustrating his concern for local religious matters even above palace concerns, Darius wrote to Gadada, the steward of his estates, taking him to task over his attitude toward the sacredness of the temple of Apollo in Magnesia. I hear that you are not carrying out my instructions properly. Admittedly, you are taking trouble over my estates, in that you are transferring trees and plants from beyond the Euphrates to Asia Minor. I commend this project, and the court will show its gratitude. But in disregarding my attitude to the gods, you have provoked my displeasure, and unless you change your tactics you will feel its weight. For you have taken away the gardeners who are sacred to Apollo, and used them for other gardening jobs of a secular character, thereby showing a lack of appreciation of the sentiments of my ancestors towards the God who has spoken to the Persians. Quoted by Keller p. 304. Clearly, Darius's statements regarding the true God and his decree are no indication of any real belief regarding him. This was more of a public policy issue. Yet how interesting it is that this was the Persian policy, and how remarkable it is that this turn of events came to pass at this particular point, just in time to enable the temple to be completed within the 72-year time frame God had foretold long before. And how wonderful an encouragement this was for the Jewish nation. They had returned to God, and now, as he promised, he returned to them, Zechariah 1:3, looking out for their national welfare and blessing and ensuring it by the mouth of the most powerful man and greatest political power on earth. End.